Hello, Marks on Our Adventures. We get asked a lot about how we plan and choose our adventures, how we plan our trips, how we pick where we want to go. So we thought we'd just share some of what we use and how we plan our trips. Not because we think it's the right way, just what works for us right now. We would love your suggestions, what you use as well. So feel free to comment below and let us know what you use. We're just going to share a few things. We don't have a lot of resources, and we have no affiliation with these resources or sponsorships or anything like that. These are just what we have found to date that we use that works for us. Right. So how we begin trip planning is basically just on our own personal interests of us as well as our whoever's traveling with us. So we like hiking, we like biking, like what kind of bikes we have? We don't have e-bikes, we don't have mountain bikes. We have...
Well, they're a crossover, or a hybrid, they call them.
Okay, so we like riding rail trails, so we look for those. We also like national parks and state parks and just anything outdoors that's unique and beautiful and, you know, things we should see, everybody should see. So we think those kinds of things out as well. With all that said, we'll just highlight a few of the resources. We're old school, so we'll feature a lot of our resources are printed materials, and so we apologize for that. There probably are like e-versions of these, but this is what we found, this is what we use, so we're just being open and honest with you.
Well, some of them too are like passport books that you get stamps, so those you can't really stamp a phone. I guess you could stamp the face of the phone.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure there's an app or something. We've just never looked for it.
You know, so like this one is the Michigan State Parks. Use that one to navigate our way around an area.
We're list checkers. Yeah. So if you give us a list like this, we're going to check them off. And we have quite a few of these checked off just because it's our home state.
Right.
So.
Another one we enjoy is lighthouses, and this one specifically is Lighthouses of Michigan, and it goes through and details all the lighthouses and the specifications or the history behind it, I guess, better than anything, and get you in the general area where the lighthouse is at. A new one that we picked up this last season was the Ohio State Parks created a passport book, so we are venturing into Ohio a little bit more and more each year as we check off all of the locations in Michigan. And then this one's really fun. This is oddball places or strange places in Michigan. It seems as though they've concentrated their books in the Midwest area, so you could check that one out. And we've actually found this to be fun.
Yeah, we found a campground that we probably wouldn't have ever chosen based on our criteria to stay at here in Michigan. We did stay at it because of it being featured in this book. It had some historical caves and it was just a historical site. But like I said, it's not a campground that we would have chosen had it not been for that book and featuring some very unique opportunities. So check out that video. It's Bear Cave Campground. Highly recommend it just because of the history. If you just want a weekend getaway, it's very unique. We've never stayed at any place like it that has that feature in it. So again, because of our interests, we subscribe or we have memberships so that as a benefit of the membership, then we get their magazine. So a few of those are
the national parks.
Yeah, we always try to hit national parks whenever we're in an area that has one, or that may be our destination, and then we hit other stuff around the area.
Yeah, and that one highlights a couple parks each issue. I think that's put out quarterly for that one. And then Rails to Trails highlights trails throughout the country that are in the system with Rails to Trails.
When we talk about bike riding being an area of interest for us, again, here's the Rails to Trails Conservancy app. We are members of this. This is a great tool to find these trails because they're all listed here, particularly if you go to their Hall of Fame. See right here's the latest Hall of Fame inductee. But if you do this Hall of Fame gallery, right here's the list of all of their Hall of Fame, which is like their cream of the crop rail trails. We've added these to our bucket list. Like we're going to check off this list and try to ride as many of these as we can. There's no fuel cost involved in riding your bike other than your own fuel. Right now, fuel is so expensive. These are great and they're usually beautiful and have unique little things to see along them. So this is a great resource if you're interested in bike riding and your family has a bike, and I would certainly target this list as well.
And then we use the Michigan Association of Recreational and Campground magazine. It comes out once a year. It's divided into regional areas throughout Michigan of campgrounds. There are service centers that are listed in this. Although we've never had to use the service center section, it is there and it's broken down by region. We've actually a low bridge that Google isn't going to identify for you, and this program will do that and help you navigate your route from point A to point B. The other thing it does is it tracks your reservations, your points of interest. You can enter in any address, so it's not just specific. You can select campgrounds from it, and the nice thing is when you do select a campground in the general area you're thinking you're going to stay, it will then go into the review. You can look at the Google Earth portion of it to see whether or not you're even going to be able to fit into that site. So there's just a wealth of information within this program that you just don't always get from Google. Although Google is great and Waze are great GPS features, they just aren't RV friendly. see if you needed to see a veterinarian. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they've kind of thought of a lot of things to put in this, and they continually improve it. One thing that they have now is weather that you can click on on your map, so that way you can see what the weather's going to be like. And I'm not one to want to drive my RV in 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts for any length of time.
So in using this to select a campground, we'll just show you what you click on the campground symbol. Here's one. I don't know anything about this one, so I would go to park details and read about it. Right here, satellite map, I can use the Google Maps to look down on it and see if it's maneuverable for us, what's around the area, all that good stuff. Here's the reviews, their own website and their phone number. So everything is kind of summarized here, and we can certainly go into more depth looking at it if this is of interest to us. And here you can see the miles to get to this one. So again, all this helpful information is right here at your fingertips. And we can use that campground information then to either make a reservation right through that link to their website if they do it on their website, or at least their phone number's right there so we can call and make it. Then we can plug in the reservation number right into our itinerary for this trip, and then it's all in one place.
One other thing to note is, I know we say that this is a planner. It actually is a GPS too, and that is part of the app. It is a user-friendly or RV-friendly GPS, so once you have all of the information loaded in on the trip wizard, you click a button and then it pops the GPS directions in. You don't have to reload all the directions into something else. And the nice thing is it does it as an offline version too, so in case you lose cell service throughout your trip, you can always reference back to that. We have used it as a GPS in the past and found it to be very accurate.
Again, we're not an affiliate of RV Life or sponsored by them or anything. We're just telling you, basically Andy found this and we subscribe to it, and we have found it very useful for our trip planning purposes. It doesn't generate our trips. We kind of use it once we find an area of interest, and we plug it in there and use that as our planning tool. Another feature, once we have all of our points of interest and our reservations and everything made, we kind of just go in and fine tune it. We make sure that our starting dates, our reservation dates, everything's accurate, and then we finalize it and we're ready to go, which is the most exciting part.
Yep.
That is how we plan, kind of in a nutshell. Based on our interests, our bucket list items, we plug it into RV Life Wizard, look for more points of interest. We generally always have plenty to see.
Yeah. One other thing
you
too,
like this video,
with the
please
rising
like and
cost of fuel,
subscribe.
you run into, can we do a trip? Can we go camping besides our front yard or backyard? And there is so much to see within your area, and that's why we're putting together a lot of this information for you, so that way you have tools at your fingertips to dig out those unknown areas within your backyard that may be 5 or 10 miles away that you've driven by 100 times and just haven't even thought of stopping in that place to either camp or even explore. You know, you could do day trips. It doesn't necessarily have to be camping. Look in the internet, use Chamber of Commerce within your area to look around and find adventures in your area. Well, I think that's going to be a wrap for this. Well, we will see you on the next adventure.
Happy spring!